Hi there, everyone. Boy, this has been a long time coming, I think, which is weird. For anyone who doesn't know who I am, which is probably most of you, my name is Kyle Garrett, and if B. Dave Walters is considered the person who has run more games of V5 than probably anyone else in the world. I am lucky enough, and my life is weird enough, to say that I'm the guy who's probably played in more games of V5 than anyone else in the world. Because I was one of the first people that joined Dave on his Vampire the Masquerade Patreon exclusive game extravaganza. There's probably a better way of saying that, but it is 3 o'clock in the morning right now, and I haven't done this in a while, and so my brain is. Huh. Um, I was lucky enough to be a part of that 2 year, 3 year journey, a years long journey, in which we played Vampire the Masquerade on a weekly basis, with 100 plus of some of the greatest fucking people I have had the pleasure to know. So if any of you guys are watching this, just know, yeah, no, it, mwah. Um, Dave just earlier reposted a video of him talking about like the 20 questions to ask him about Victor Temple. You know, his Ventru Baron of the Valley that he plays on LA by Night. And me and him were talking about it, and I said that I should probably do this one for my character. Not that I'm on LA by Night. I'm not. Just I know that people will understand that I'm not, but I'm not. Just wanted to clear that up. Um, but I got to play Jackson Redfern, who people sort of liked, and I don't understand why they liked him. And you'll come to find out when I start answering these questions. But for all of those of you who kind of don't know about it, Jackson was my Lasombra bishop that I got to play in the B-Day verse, which took place in like an alternate reality of LA. So the things that happened during like season 3 and before of LA by Night, like that's kind of where we started, and then it branched off into his own very much chaotic clusterfuck of amazingness. And as we started this, and there was only like 5 of us at the time, 5 to 6 of us at the time, um, I was lucky enough, and he trusted me enough, that I got to play a Lasombra before Chicago by Night came out, before the Lasombra were even in V5. We talked about it a few times. Apparently, what he considers my encyclopedic knowledge of World of Darkness came in handy, and he allowed me to play this Lasombra Sabat, um, and it kind of grew from there. And if anyone has ever been in a game with me where I played Jackson, you'll understand why I'm very curious and kind of confused in a way, why people like him so much, because he's not a good person. He's not a good kindred. He's very much a Sabat. He's very much a Lasombra Sabat, and it kind of grew from there. It grew from a character that I thought would probably only last like 5 sessions and then get instantly murked, um, to a character that I played for a few years and got a pretty good send off, and got to a point in which I could have still played him, and I think everyone would have loved that I still played him. But he got to a point in his story where the story was done, but he also got to a power level where it wasn't fair to anyone else in the games that he was in, because Dave or anyone else running them had to account for Jax's power level, and I don't like doing that as a player, so I got to retire him, and it was glorious. And but over the past week or so, um, I've gotten nostalgic for Jax. So when Dave reposted his 20 questions about my character, my VTM character, I thought that I would do this for Jackson. So if anyone ever wondered, and anyone wanted to know a little bit more about the Bishop of San Gabriel in the B-Day verse, here we go. My questions are on this screen, so if I'm looking away, I'm going to take the cue from Dave here. I'm not doing the ungentlemanly thing of not paying attention to you, but all the questions are on this screen, so that's what I'm going to do. So, the first thing, again, Lasombra, Bishop, Sabat. Have they kept any of the same rituals they had as a human, like going to the same pub every Sunday? No. Well, kinda. Um, Jax is old. He's like 150 plus years old. He was born during Reconstruction, and then his death was at the tail end of World War One. But he grew up like dirt poor. Uh, so because of that, and because he was in Georgia at the time, like when he was born, he was born and kind of raised in Atlanta. Um, the things that he would have done as a human very much were like survival based. And even going to like the same kind of bar or pub or establishment probably isn't there anymore. So in that realm, no, he doesn't do the same rituals he did as a human. But as I think about it, he does do a same ritual, um, and that is he steals shit. Jackson might be a very old, very powerful Lasombra bishop, but he made his first kind of money uh, stealing. Uh, and at first, it was very much a stealing for survival. His family didn't have anything. He either needed the money to pay for something, or him and his brothers and sisters fucking stole shit that they needed to survive when they were human. And he's kind of kept that up. He likes that, even though that he can kind of just, shadow into a place that isn't hermetically sealed and just take whatever the fuck he wants. Or, I mean, he's a Lasombra, so it's just like, give me all of your money. Um, he likes the challenge of still trying to break into places and like steal all of his cars that he has. He has three of them. He stole. He's not bought a single car that he drives or that he has ever. Even the one that he gave to a very good friend of his, he stole and then gave it to them. So yeah, that's kind of the kind of same. I wouldn't call it a ritual, because it was a survival mechanic when he was alive. But yeah, he still likes keeping up with being able to get whatever he wants without people knowing that he did it. The the new electronic locks really fuck him over. But that's just the sign of the times. But he can still lockpick. He can still kind of break into things. He can hotwire a car. All of that stuff. He very much likes to do. He stole. Little story. He stole the Christmas tree, like the big like L.A. Christmas tree. He stole that and put it in Victor's club. The first Christmas that he was in L.A. just because he could. You know, just because he could. Uh, and Victor kept it until New Year's, if I remember. And Dave, if you're watching this and you remember, I think like Victor kept it until the end of the holidays, which was kind of cool. He liked that. Number two, do they still bathe and take a shower despite their condition? Like Dave said in his, vampires don't sweat, so they don't have like body odor or anything like that. They don't need to bathe or take a shower unless like they get really dirty or they're covered in blood or whatever. Uh, but yes, he very much still takes a shower. He is a Lasombra, so he has an affinity for water to begin with. Um, and two, it's very relaxing. Um, Me personally, I take, depending on how kind of work is, I take 2 showers a day. That's very much kind of how Jax does when he wakes up. Him and his Toreador wife, played beautifully by Jumanji Casco, Maeve, take a shower to start the night. And if things are incredibly tense, he might take another one before the accursed Daystar picks up and they die. But yeah, he very much likes to take a shower, take a bath. It's very relaxing. He loves water just to begin with. He loves going into the ocean. It's one of the things that he loves to do when he's in LA, actually, is just go out into the ocean, sink to the bottom, and just live in oblivion for a few hours. Um, yeah, it's kind of cool. Which blood resonance, number three, is which blood resonance do they prefer? He's kind of a psychopath. Well, he's not a psychopath. He's a sociopath. Um, and he's an Oblivion master. So none, no blood resonance at all. That's very much what he prefers. It's hard to come by, but he does like it. The other one I think he likes is it's the phlegmatic, if I remember. It's the calming one. Um, just for the sheer fact of, again, he's got to deal with a lot of shit. He likes to just calm down a little bit. But yeah, those are the. He very much likes the no resonance because he's a sociopath and he's an Oblivion user. Yeah, it's just it works for him. Number four, were they a night owl before they were embraced? That's a weird one that I haven't really thought of. Um, yes and no. No, when he was a kid, when he was growing up in Atlanta, no. Because I mean, it's Atlanta after the Civil War. He was dirt poor. Like you used every bit of time that you could. As he grew a little bit older, probably just for the sheer fact of he did start to steal things. He did start to like, do terrible things to people because it needed to happen or they were hurting him and his siblings. Um, and then when he went to war, because he died at the tail end of World War One. Yes, but not by choice. Like the night owl thing was not by choice, I would say. Um, World War One was horrific in every way, shape, and form possible. Made only worse because of the trench warfare, and a lot of that shit happened at night. A lot of the raids happened at night. So yeah, he was probably a night owl, but it wasn't something that he chose. It's just he had to do it just for survival, both times for survival, and then when he was a kid, just because, I mean, it's the best time to steal shit from stores when people aren't there. Number five, this is one of my favorite questions. How do they refer to their beast and how do they treat it? He's a Sabat Lasombra. Uh, Him and his beasts are best friends. Uh, I think I'm weird in this, and I don't know if anyone else does it. I know a few people do, but I don't know if the majority of people do it. Um, Jackson's beast, I've always stated, is like the mental projection of Oblivion itself. It is this amorphous mass of complete and utter darkness that has two green glowing eyes and a wickedly sharp smile. Hence, he names it Cheshire. Very cunning, very kind of lazy grace kind of thing. But yeah, anything that Cheshire kind of says, he goes along with. Doesn't really matter. I don't think there was any point in the however many years we played that if the Beast said something, Jackson wasn't 100% okay with. I don't think there was any moment where it was just like the Beast was just like everything needs to die, and he's like, how about not? He's probably 9 out of 10 times, or even 10 out of 10 times, just like everyone needs to die here. Bet, let's go. So yeah, no, he loves his Beast. Cheshire is fantastic, and I loved portraying her. And yes, even though, and this will come up later, even though Jackson's sire is a male, his beast is a female because I thought that was interesting. Um, but yeah, they are best friends. That's kind of his oldest friend since he became a kindred, or his most long lasting friend. Let's say. Number six, which discipline are they naturally best at? Why? Come on, do you have to ask? You have to ask? It's Oblivion. Sublivion, Obtenebration, Abyss mysticism. He's got a lot. Why is he the best at it? He's a fucking 150-year-old Lasombra. Yeah. Um, 7. Which of their convictions is hardest to keep? That is interesting because I haven't looked at his sheet in quite some time. So now I actually have to look at his sheet because I haven't done that in a little bit of time. Where did I put it? There it is. Yeah. I forgot this was here, and I thought I had his sheet up, but it didn't. Oh, yeah. Which of their convictions is hardest to keep is do not become like the antediluvians before you. It's the hardest one for him to keep. It's the hardest and the easiest. For the sheer fact that he got a lot of power, he got a lot of prestige, but at the same time, it's hard because with that comes the responsibility of, what do you do with it? And he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be that kindred who lords over people and tells people, "Hey, you need to go die for this cause." Because I mean, that's what the antediluvians do, and he is completely and utterly against that. So yeah, that's the hardest because there are times and there are moments in kindred society and kindred life that you do have to take people and be like, you need to go and do this thing, and you're probably gonna die for it. But like, eh. So yeah, I think that's the hardest for him. The others are okay. Knowledge is power is pretty good, and then pack his life is his main one. But yeah, do not become like the antediluvians before you. That's kind of the hardest, especially the more power he got. Number 8, before the embrace, how did they imagine their dream life? Survival. There was no dream life. He grew up dirt poor in a no room shack during Reconstruction where everything was destroyed. There was no dream life. Their dream life was surviving the week, and that was it. And then when the war happened, you know, surviving the week. I don't think there was a dream life for the Redferns at that time. Um, it was just survival, and the dream life was not having to do that. Was not having to go almost day by day and wonder if they were going to survive the next day. Yeah, they didn't really have a dream life. Number 9, do they celebrate their birthday or death day? They don't. They didn't remember their birthday until their wife spent like a month researching and figured out when he was born. He didn't remember it up until like 3 years ago. He didn't remember when he was born. Um, does he celebrate it? Probably not. It's kind of a holdover from like humanity. And he's not really a big humanity person. Does he celebrate his death day? Probably, because as a Lasombra, his embrace was very much a trial by fire, and him going through that and then realizing that there was something more on the opposite end of that. Yeah, he probably doesn't like go all out like this is the day that it happened, but like he probably does like when that day comes every year, he's probably like yay. But yeah, there's no like big kind of celebration of it. It's just a remembrance of. I just thought of it. It's a remembrance of the moment that he realized that his dream life was actually after death. And the most like that's the most fucked up way of saying it, but like his death, his embrace was the moment that he was like, I don't have to worry about surviving because I'm not. I'm going to die, but there's more to it after that. And now I have the power to, or I will have the power uh, to survive. So, um, which part of human life? Number 10. Which part of human life do they miss the most? Nothing. Nothing really. He has he has a better life now that he's a kindred than he did when he was a human. Um, he has everything that he needs now, or he can very easily get it. Um, yeah, there's really nothing about humanity that he misses. I mean, he's also a Sabbat, and their whole thing is not. And he is very much a zealot when it comes to the Sabbat. So, yeah, him and humanity aren't kind of a thing that go hand in hand. 11, how do they feel towards their sire? This is complicated because Dave is a fantastic storyteller. Um, Paul, how do I not get into the weeds with this? Uh, so Jackson was sired by a honest to God Templar, um, and he respects, he admires, and for the longest time, that's all there was. He respected and admired his sire, and he was very much, uh, he looked up to Vargas, um, for the power that he had. Vargas is an incredibly powerful Lasombra. Thanks, B Dave. Um, because I didn't. I just created the name, and then Dave went off on this whole thing, which was kind of dope. Um, but as more and more time went on, and as the story that we played progressed, um, he understood him a little bit more, and then because of fuck shit, um, really, really like started to not just admire and respect, but also very much think of Vargas as a father. Um, he very much thinks of him that way, and for the most part, I mean, Vargas kind of thinks of him as a son, which is kind of interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that was played out. Because I, spoiler alert, I honestly hate the trope of I hate my sire. To me, it's overplayed. So I wanted to do the thing where it's just like, no, my sire's pretty great. Like my sire's like a fucking sociopath. He's a 1,000-year-old Lasombra, but I mean, that's still my dad. So yeah, he very much likes Vargas. He respects Vargas. He's very scared of Vargas in a lot of ways. But at the same time, he very much does feel some kind of whatever is close to love that a lower humanity Sabat can kind of feel. He feels that for his sire, and they have a pretty good relationship now. Uh, but yeah, they're pretty good. Plus, I mean, uh, Jax loves Vargas's uh, boy Friday, Khalid, the Black Spiral dancer. So, you know, it's a weird family dynamic. Uh, that was 11. 12. What kind of kindred, if any, are they most likely to trust? Malkavians. Um, I think they trust Malkavians a little bit. Well, it's a toss up. It's a toss up between Malkavians and Gangrels. Uh, fuck, that's not true either. It's a three-way tie. If if I'm thinking about it more, it's the Zamichi, it's the Gangrel, and the Malkavians. I think kind of in that order. Um, he grew up with Zamichi. One of the players, Patch. Yeah, Patch of all of the Twitter and D&D and all of that Geek and Sundry moderator fame. Patch played a fantastic Zamichi. Again, before the Zamichi were even in V5, who we kind of combined storylines with because why not? Um, that is his brother from another sire. Um, and he trusts the Zamichi kind of more kind of than anyone else. He loves them. He loves the Zamichi. He loves vicissitude. He thinks it's fucking glorious, and he wants it, but his brother would never allow him to get it. For the same reason that I think Jax would never give Obtenebration or Oblivion to Rex, because you know what it does to Kindred, and you don't want that for the person that you've kind of been in the most battles with. Um, But yeah, he loves the Zimichi. He loves everything about them. He thinks they are fascinating creatures. The things they can do is beautifully horrific, and he just loves every part of it. Um, Gangrel, because people underestimate them, and you never you should never underestimate any kindred, but you should never underestimate a Gangrel for the sheer fact that if you do and you let them live and they take that shit to heart, you can't kill them. Like a high level Gangrel with all of their disciplines is tough to defeat. And if anyone will hold a grudge, it's the animalistic Gangrel. Um, but they can be some of the best allies, as his pack kind of proves. And the same thing with Malkavians. People underestimate the Malkavians, uh, and to Jax they shouldn't. Um, he's seen what Sabat Malkavians can do, and he very much looks to their foresight and their intricate knowledge of things that other people don't understand or can't understand, and takes that shit to heart. Um, so anytime a Malkavian speaks, he very much takes what they say to heart, even if everyone around him kind of blows it off or is just like, oh, the children of the moon are, doing this thing again. He very much remembers what they say, and very much like puts that in his back pocket, because he knows at some point whatever they said is probably true. In some way, some form, it's probably true. And people should heed that. Plus, I mean, Sabat Malkavians are fucking terrifying. So you don't underestimate a Malkavian. Um, 13, what kind of kindred are they most likely to stay away from? Not many. Um, it's a tough one, because in a lot of ways, Jackson understands that you should probably stay away from all of them at a certain time. Like, each one of them is incredibly dangerous, if given enough time and resources. Um, Probably an Assamite. Um, he loves the Assamites. He thinks, again, they're a fascinating clan. But I think the Assamites are very much. He's got in trouble by saying this. The Assamites are the true rulers of blood sorcery, to Jackson. Like he's told Tremere this. He's told very high level Tremere, that they're all usurpers, which they are. But yeah, whatever. Um, but he understands blood sorcery because he has it. Uh, but very much so, you don't want to piss off an Assamite. Um, he's heard stories of Fatima, and you don't. Anyone who can uh, become lovers with one of the greatest Lasombra of all times, uh, and still do what they do and become even more powerful for it, you just don't fuck with that clan. Uh, yeah, no, you don't fuck with the Assamites. Yeah, that's probably the ones that he would kind of like, if he had to, he'd probably like be a little worried about. But again, with what he has, he's not really scared of anything, but very much don't kind of don't piss off an Assamite. Um, Number 14. How do they end up finding their preferred predator type? He is a grave robber. Um, and as such, I'm not really sure how he kind of came about it. I think it was very much he tried everything else and nothing worked with Oblivion, and then he found someone who was in like the deepest, darkest depression ever in a cemetery, like over a grave, and he was super fucking hungry, and he just pounced, and because either that very low or no resonance, it kind of boosted that Oblivion and made him feel a little bit better. So it's probably how it works. Um, yeah, it's kind of yeah. I haven't really thought about like how he became a grave robber. I know that I didn't want him to like eat dead bodies. Um, he feeds off the people mourning the dead. But yeah, I think it's very much a these people are really like so I'm gonna eat them. And a again sociopath. A I mean, if they die, fucking most people are gonna be like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Again, he's not a good person. Um, and when he did feed, it very much was just like my Tenebration and Oblivion is a little bit, packs a little bit more punch. I wonder why that is, and then did it again, and it kind of clicked in his brain. So that's probably what it is. Um, 15. What was the weirdest place they ever went into the day sleep? He grew up with Zamichi. Man, I don't even want to think about some of the weird things that he's probably gone into the day sleep in. Uh, yeah, no, he's very much he grew up around Zamichi. I don't even want to think about the mm, mm-mm, mm-mm, no. We're gonna leave it at that because I can think of a lot of places, but just Zamichi grew up around them, fought with them on the battlefield. Sun's coming up. There's a lot of dead bodies here. That's all I'm saying. 16. What places were their favorite before they were embraced? Didn't really have one. Again, uh, everything before he was embraced was very much a survival, so he kind of didn't have a favorite place. I think some places in Europe he really liked, even though they were being bombed to shit, and like all the trench warfare and shit like that. But he didn't see a lot of it because it was like, hey, we're going to fucking Europe. Oh, look, we're in a mud hole. Um, but yeah, like that's kind of the extent of like what was his favorite places. It was very much places that he never thought that he could get to. Um, so seeing certain places in Europe, not in warfare, I think he would have liked, and he still like. Some places in Atlanta he probably liked, but again, they're not there anymore. So it's kind of a null and void kind of thing. 18. Do you think their clan fits them? And if they could pick any other, what would they be? Yes. No, their clan fits them perfectly. And I kind of did that on purpose. Jackson was always going to be a Lasombra. Um, I can't really think of any other clan that he would be. Um, maybe an Assamite, maybe a Zamichi, but he's very much a Lasombra. Um, yeah, I created him like to be a Lasombra for a reason because I had a story that I wanted to tell, and I was just lucky enough to do it. So yeah, no, it fits them perfectly. 19. This is gonna piss a lot of people off. If they could learn any discipline, what would they master first? Well, A, they mastered Oblivion first. B, if they could learn any discipline, they did. They learned every single one of them, except flesh crafting. And now I guess, well, no, technically, he could probably get the Salubri and the Ravnos one, but he's been retired for so long it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, he learned all of them except for flesh crafting. He has every discipline. He's not a master in all of them, um, but yeah, no, he that's how powerful he is. Thanks, Dave. Um, but the one that he really, really wanted more than anything was blood sorcery. Other than like the Oblivion, once he got Oblivion, that was dope. And then he got blood sorcery for a few, uh, and he got what he wanted from that. Then he upped dominate, and then realized that, oh shit, I have dominate, and I'm now engaged or dating engaged, shacking up with a Toreador, and presence works beautifully with dominate. Let me get some of that. Uh, And yeah, no, it was a whole fucking thing. But yeah, blood sorcery and I think presence were the two kind of big ones that he really really wanted. Other than the potence, dominate, and oblivion from him being a Lasombra. Presence and blood sorcery. Well, blood sorcery and then presence were kind of the big ones. Because man, the shit that you can do as a Lasombra with blood sorcery is terrifying. Uh, the stuff you can do with a Lasombra and presence, it's terrifying. Uh, yeah, it's pretty dope. Again, thanks, B Dave. But I guess that's what happens when you play for like multiple years every week. Sometimes a few times a week. Whoops. Uh, and last but not least, if they could choose their true death, how would they like to die? I've thought about this a lot. I thought about the Jackson is very much a zealot. And I'm gonna get into the weeds here for a little bit, so sorry. Jackson is a very much a Sabbat zealot. Um, he believes everything that they are for. He believes in the Book of Nod. He has it tattooed on him. Like, he has the Book of Nod tattooed across him. It's what he did before he got embraced, because he couldn't do it after he got embraced. He did it beforehand. Um, so he believes in everything that they're doing to the extreme. Uh, which again is why I don't understand why people liked him. You shouldn't like him, but people did. I don't know why. It's weird. Um, but I guess it's kind of like that Dune thing, because I know Dune's in the public consciousness again. It's what happens to a group when you have a charismatic leader. It's kind of the same thing. He was just really good at what he did. And then he got people around him that were very good at what they did, and it just kind of grew from there. But um, he believes in everything that they're doing. He believes in the Sabbat uh, in every way. He believes so much in the Book of Nod, and he is such a big Nodist that he literally has it tattooed upon his person. He carries around his own Book of Nod. So, if he could choose his true death, it would be in service of his pack and facing off against an antediluvian. That would be the way that he would like to go. Um, Small spoilers for anyone who has seen the final season of Castlevania. That moment when he faces death and he has that, we're killers out of history. You don't build anything. It's time for us to give this world back to the people who build things. That whole speech that he does to death, that's Jackson in a nutshell. That scene, if you want to know, if you want a microcosm of who Jax is, watch that scene, and instead of Belmont facing off against death itself, have a Lasombra Nodist Sabbat facing off against an antediluvian. It's the same speech. um Jax knows without a shadow of a doubt that he will not get a happy ending. He did, in when I retired him, he did get a happy ending. Um, but in the long run, it's not going to go well for him. It can't, right? Um, but and the reason for that, again, I said I was getting into the weeds, and the reason for that is because he wants a world in which his kind aren't needed, where you don't need the warrior zealots to protect the people who can't protect themselves. Um, he is very much the person who will fight and kill and destroy and do terrible things for the people that he cares about, for the people that he is bonded to, the pack that he is bonded to, the family that he has. But he knows for a fact that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if he gets his happy ending, if he gets a world where there are no antediluvians, where he has wiped out basically all of his enemies, and his group is in a place where they can be safe and there's really no need for them to worry about anything anymore, he can't be there with them because it's very much that Avengers thing of, that power breeds conflict. And if he's there, and especially in kindred society, if you have this very powerful person, there's going to be someone or a group of someones who wants to overthrow that power. So in the long run, if he got what he wanted, he would have to walk into the sun to keep everyone safe. So in his thing, his overall kind of thought, if he could choose his true death, it would be facing off against an antediluvian, knowing full well that his pack is good, and he can take this fight, and he can maybe kill it. He'll probably die in the process, and he understands that, but he might take it out with him, and he's gonna fucking try. So yeah, that's his mwah, chef's kiss. True death is all of his people are safe. There's the main enemy. It's time to go to work, and that's what he would do. So yeah, that's Jax, man. That's Jackson Redfern. The Sabbat Lasombra Bishop, who I was lucky enough to play for a long time, and who is still kind of in my back pocket. It was amazing, and the people that I got to spend that time with were glorious. I want to kind of end this thanking Dave, and like I've said it before, said it multiple times. It has been, those games were like the highlight of a few years. And then we got to do New York for a little bit, and that I might do one of these with. There's a pattern that anyone who knows me and who's played VTM or any World of Darkness with me, any World of Darkness game with me will notice. I like playing really terrible characters. So, yeah, I got to play a Lasombra Sabbat Bishop. That's cool. I got to portray a Black Spiral Dancer. Yeah, that's cool. What else? Oh yeah, I got to got to play Bali in New York. It's fine though. It's fine. I love Luke. I might do one of these with Luke, because this was a lot of fun. But yeah, that is Jackson. One of the greatest characters that I think I've ever made, in like top one or two of the greatest characters that I've ever made. And because I was feeling nostalgic about him, I thought that I would do this. And anyone who knows Jax and has been in a game with me portraying him, y'all know exactly who he is. So it was really good to get back in that mindset. So yeah, thanks for all of this, and listen to me ramble at 4 o'clock in the morning on the Eastern Seaboard. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Thanks, Dave, for reposting your thing about Victor. If you guys haven't watched that, it does give a lot of insight into Victor, especially with the final season of LA by Night coming up. So yeah, everybody watch it. Be good to each other and all of that jazz. And yeah, hopefully we all get to be at a table together again. So until then, I will talk to everybody later.